Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. So we'll go ahead and get started on my presentation. Today is on the power of credit. I'm Adrienne Brown and thanks again for joining me. So let's just jump right in. Credit is leverage. So because credit is the thermometer of everything that we do in life when it comes to financial freedom, we want to understand the leverage we have within increasing our credit. Credit will give you access to capital for whatever you're trying to accomplish. So we just need to be aware of that, and the term there is other people's money. So OPM stands for other people's money, and that's a wealthy person term that we need to learn. Think about it. How long would it take you to save $250,000 versus having access to $250,000 capital and credit? So the time frame is going to be very different, and you can build your credit to get access to this capital faster than you'll be able to save it. All right, and next slide, we have position, power, purchase. And this starts with mindset. So realization, mindset starts with realization of where you're trying to go, that a change needs to be made, and then you educate yourself. So there are plenty of platforms to educate yourself, YouTube being number one. YouTube University, you can go in there and type in anything you're trying to learn, and it's going to give you facts from every different genre. Next is keeping the consistency. So you have to be consistent to get anywhere in life. If you don't stay consistent, then your goal is void. So we want to have that mindset to get us where we're going and be consistent to that goal. Next is purchase power. So we want to think about who we're making rich, and we need to be making ourselves rich. Understand that cash is still king, so we need to have our capital, we need to have our cash, and where we're spending that, we need to, understand and be mindful of where you're spending your money. So that's the strategy, getting into position and staying on top of your credit and staying in position. So you learn credit management and you want to focus on DTI. So here's a quick question. Do you know what DTI is, and what's the max DTI to get approved for most home loans? All right. DTI. So click it one more time. Click it one more time. Okay, there's the question, and then on the next slide, if you click it twice, the answer is DTI stands for debt to income. And the max debt to income for most loans is 3545. Thank you. So that's 35 is on the front end and 45 is on the back end. We'll get into that on the next slide. I'll give you more details on that. So education and strategy. So first you want to start with your credit report. The three different bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So you want to use their online services to learn what impacts and affects your credit. So educate yourself there. Use their resources. It's a free service. I use Experian. So I use their free service to be on top of my credit, see what's affecting it. It gives you alerts and advice. And once you are looking at your credit report, getting familiar with it, you want to then dispute what you can. And online dispute is the best way. So you have that online service, you're going to dispute. It is a 30-day time frame, so it's better than writing out those letters and sending it and waiting on it. So being able to dispute it online is a faster process in that sense. And also COVID-19 is now a dispute reason, and it works. So I've used it for my clients, and I mean, we've all been affected by COVID-19, so we might as well use it for our benefit. All right, and next is what you can't dispute, you want to try to settle. So there you want to contact the collection agency and negotiate a settlement amount. And you want to make sure when negotiating, you want to make sure that they promise to remove it from the collection reporting and send you documentation of this. So that way, it's completely removed, and that way you'll see your credit score number go up. So on the next slide, we have more on DTI. So pull out a calculator if you can, and enter your monthly gross income. So first, divide your income by the amount of your monthly debit or debts that show up on your credit report. This debt is what you need to focus on decreasing. So that's your debt to income, your monthly income divided by your debt. And this is what you want to focus on decreasing, which will increase the amount of credit that you'll be eligible for. Yes.
Is it overall debt or monthly debt?
Monthly debt. So it's your monthly debt that shows up on your credit report, like your car note. Your credit cards will show up on there. The monthly minimum payment is what they're calculating. Your mortgage, not your rent. It's not going to show up on your credit report. So that's what is calculating as your debt versus your income. So more on the debt to income, the front end is your monthly income divided by your housing cost. So that's just your housing cost, and that's what they'll go off of. The back end is your monthly income divided by all monthly debt, including housing costs. So when you go to get a mortgage, when you go to get a loan, specifically a home loan, this is where they're looking at your debt to income. So the expensive car note is not worth it. You're going to want to educate yourself and focus on the strategy. So we always, might want to put the cart before the horse, but we always want to get our assets first. Our home is our asset, and not make liabilities. The next slide is taxes. So this is a huge part of being in position.
I'm sorry, I have a question about the last slide.
Okay,
Can you go back to the last slide?
let's see. If you push the arrow back. Okay.
Okay, so is the front end and the back end, is that the 35, 45?
Yes.
So how is that, like, what is that overall showing, I guess?
So that's showing,
Or like, how does it, like, I noticed your debt to income, but how is that really?
it's really showing like what you can afford. You know how when you go and get an apartment and you have to make 3 times the monthly rent? It's sort of like that. So based on your income, this is what they're going to qualify you for. This is how much house you can afford. Based on your income, and then based on the debts that you already have, this is how much you have left over for your housing expense.
So if you didn't already have a house yet, right, and we're doing the front end with the housing costs, is that just gonna be all income in the first part, because there's nothing to divide it by?
So if you didn't already have a house yet, they're calculating, they're using what you're going to qualify for. So they're going to determine, say you're going for a $200,000 loan, and that calculates to $1,500 a month. They're going to do monthly income, $3,000, and then you're going to buy a house for it's going to be $1,500 a month. That's 50%. So your front end would be 50%, and that's too high. So you're going to say, So either you need to increase your income so you can qualify for that $200,000 house, or you need to qualify for a lower priced home. And then back end is where we get in trouble because we already have this debt on our credit card or on our credit report. Car notes is too high, or we have a bunch of credit card debt or loans. This is what we want to decrease so that when we go to qualify for a home, we have more leverage. We can leverage more. Yeah? Okay. To the taxes. So taxes is a huge part of being in position. You must pay to play, meaning you must pay your taxes. So it doesn't do you any favors to itemize and deduct all your expenses on your Schedule C, because what they're going off of, lenders, creditors, what they go off of is your AGI, which is your aggregated gross income. Sorry. So I've said it so many times, and I'm like, wait, I drew a blank. So they go off of that number after all of your deductions. So deducting all of your expenses is really hurting you in the long run. You want to break this cycle. You want to break the POOR cycle, P-O-O-R, and that's passing over opportunities repeatedly. So us passing those opportunities over the opportunities of recording our income instead of deducting all of our income, you think it's an opportunity to get back a tax return, but you're really, you're not doing yourself any favors in the long run, because you need to also show income as well as increase your credit score. So that's where the leverage comes in, because remember, cash is still king. We need to have our income. We also need to increase our credit so that we're on a level playing field for our communities. Yeah, next slide is more on leverage. So here's where we think about, are we accumulating assets or liabilities? So with assets comes leverage, such as equity. So homes, real estate is assets, our savings accounts are assets, that liquid, that capital. With liabilities come increased debt to income and decreased leverage. So we have those high car notes, we have those high bills on our credit report, and that lowers our leverage to get to what we're trying to obtain, property. And what we want to really do is leverage back our communities, buy back our blocks. That's what it's really about. I don't want to teach credit repair for us to be able to get a new car or anything like that. I want us to get property. I want us to build back our communities and start there and have that leverage so that whoever can't come in and take over our communities. They is whoever is against us. So this last slide will show you the proven steps. So we have step 1 is mindset. Establish your mindset, stay in your mindset, grow your mindset, and know where you're going. Next is position. Get in position, stay in position, and that goes into step 3, consistency. Consistently stay and work your position. And that goes into step 4, strategy. Consistently work your strategy from your position. And that concludes my presentation. So I hope you learned something. Let me know if you have any questions, and I can elaborate more. Thank you. Sure.
Especially with COVID, like you said, that's had a huge effect on everything. And it's driven up the prices on everything. So it makes it kind of hard to have a good debt to income ratio, because now to get a house, people are paying $1,800, $2,000 a month. Then you get a car, you might but they're not making that kind of money, maybe $15 an hour. So how can someone, like, trying to attack that, or what's the best way to try and get your debt to income ratio down as far as something like that?
Lower your, I would say, not standards, but lower your necessities. So if you can lower that car note, like you don't need the big car note, you could trade it in for a smaller car, or get something that you can pay off quicker, something that is not going to have a huge lifeline on your credit report, something that you can pay off sooner. Yes.
Isn't there like a credit or something for COVID too?
Credit for COVID?
Yeah, like with the credit.
Well, there are resources for COVID, and well, that is one where you fall into like late payments or getting behind on things. That is where you can dispute with the COVID being the reason. There are a lot of resources to get rental assistance and mortgage assistance because of COVID as well. So tapping into those resources will help, you remain stable in this time.
Would you recommend paying cash for a car?
I would, yes, I would, if you could, at whatever your budget is, because and then you don't have that car note and you don't have that debt to income. So then you have that freed up for an asset of purchase.
And that business versus personal credit. What's the main difference?
Okay, it's gonna be it's gonna be very much the same, except for with business, once you get business credit, you can use that more freely, and the balances don't matter as much as you trying to keep your balances low with business credit. But where business credit comes in is where a lot of us make a mistake is we deduct all those expenses. So when we go to get business credit, they're not going to give us a large line of business credit. Another thing I would say to stay away from are department store cards. So their credit cards and that's another thing of be careful what you spend your money on, because department store cards are going to have a high interest rate and you're not getting any benefits. So if you think about it, you can use your regular card, your regular credit card, where you're getting points and cash back for those purchases, and that way you're benefiting off of those purchases instead of not. Does that make sense? Like, not to, those department store credit cards is really just like a catch-22, and people find themselves in that cycle, and it's no benefit there. You may get a little bit of a discount, but a credit card with a credit union or a bank is going to be way more beneficial, especially if you're able to use it and pay it down without incurring that interest. So that's a whole nother strategy that you can learn, to use the credit cards, get the points, get the cash back, but you pay what you've used by the due date, before the due date, then you're not getting charged any interest. They can only charge interest on a balance. So those are other strategies that you can put in place to, make money off of your money. So.
So if you have a perk card, one of those credit, a Visa or MasterCard, they give you perks.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be wise to, like, say all your monthly bills, like say you have a budget and you spending $1,500, say, a month on all your bills, water, light, telephone, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Use that one card to purchase everything each month. Get, like you say, get the perks from it. Then at the end of the month, just turn around and pay it all off, because you're going to pay those bills anyway. So just pay it off one time on that card. Just use that card to make those payments.
Absolutely, because if you pay that before the due date before the interest hit, then you're getting no interest. You're gaining those points, that cash back, but you're paying your bills. That's exactly how I changed my credit. So I got a credit card, and I used it to pay all of my bills, and then I would just put my entire paycheck on there, or whatever the balance was. So it was the same as paying your bills. And some bills you can't pay from a credit card, like your rent or your mortgage, some car notes you cannot. But that is exactly how I did that. Everything on a credit card so I could get those benefits, and then my paycheck I used to pay the credit card before the end of the month, before the due date, so that there was no interest to be charged.
And is it true that most bill collectors will work with you, say, on the due date? So say your card is due on the 28th. You can, some places will let you change the due date so that it all works together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. So I worked at a credit union, and they would let you change the due date after your first payment. So you make your first payment on the regular due date, and then you can change your due date to whatever fits you best. Or you can, you have a 10-day grace period, so that's important to know as well, because you utilize all of your resources. If you need that 10 days to make a payment on something else that's more pertinent, then do that. But you have your 10-day grace period. After that, there would be a late fee. But then you also have a 30-day grace period before it's reported to the credit bureau. So if it's, one of those months and something, has to go without being paid, you have that 30 days. So yes, you're late and you're going to incur a late fee, but pay it before the 30 days so it doesn't impact your credit. That is where it's going to majorly impact you for a period of time. A late fee will stay on your credit report for 7 years. So that's what you want to avoid for sure.
What about medical bills?
Medical bills, now are they in collections or? Medical bills that usually get, that are on your credit report are usually in collection. That would be a good thing to try to dispute under COVID-19, or try to dispute. I've disputed several medical bills, and if it didn't work the first time, I've done it over and over until it came off, because that's something that creditors don't look at too hard, because medical is something kind of out of our control, but it is still calculated. So, but if you can at any cost get it disputed or settled, that's going to be the best bet with medical bills. Student loans are going to stay on there, and they're going to, like when you go to get a mortgage, they're not going to calculate the entire payment. Now it's 5%. It used to be, I think it was 1%, but now it's 5%. So that is something that you definitely want to try to get deferred or paid down as much as possible, but it's not at the full percentage.
How long does repossessions and bankruptcy stay? Because I know there's been a myth about that.
Yes, they'll stay on there 7 years, and a Chapter 7 bankruptcy stays on there 10 years. I don't know the difference. There's a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Honestly, I'm not going to tell you a lie. I don't know the difference. I can do some research and tell you next time, but I don't know. I know one stays on longer than the other.
Do they automatically fall off after 7 years?
The bankruptcies, yes. And yes, it will.
So if you're close to your 7 years, don't pay it?
That's what I would suggest. Yeah. She said if you're close to your 7 years, don't pay it. I would suggest that, and suggest not contacting them or anything. Anytime you contact a collection agency, it starts that clock all the way over. So If it's closed, just leave it alone, it'll fall off. I've seen that happen. But if it's not, dispute, because they have 30 days to respond to say that it's your debt. If it could fall through the loopholes, you know? If you continue to dispute, then they could miss that one time, and then to your benefit, it come off your credit.
Now, one other question about bankruptcy, if you know it or not. They used to say that, sometimes they used to say it was good to file bankruptcy, and that people that file bankruptcy actually can get more after they filed it than they did before they filed a bankruptcy. Is that a myth?
I've heard that, and I mean, I think it depends on, you know, the situation, their specific scenario. It does wipe everything out, but and then you have to wait that 7 years. So after that 7-year time frame has gone by, then it's like you're just going to be building your credit back up. They can't see the bankruptcy, and then you can, you know, hopefully you've repaired your habits by then, and you know what to do to have decent credit and build on that. But yeah, that is technically true, but not right away, not instantly. It's going to impact them for that 7 to 10 years. It's going to be a red mark, you know, like a red flag for creditors, and it's going to be hard for them to obtain credit until it's all cleared out.
What is considered decent credit?
I would say, they say 650 and above. I would say 680 and above. That just gets you better interest rates. You have more options. And I'm talking about like buying a home. I'm a mortgage broker, so I ultimately want to give everybody a home. And especially in our community, I want us to, you know, have property and go get more property and just, you know, build our communities back. So yeah, 650 and up. But the higher, the better. The higher, the better your interest rate's going to be, better options you're going to have, cashback options, down payment assistance options. So the better, the higher, the better.
So you can help do home ownership?
Yes, I'm a mortgage broker, so I work with over 150 lenders. I have a lot of different programs for different situations, different credit, you know, scores, different incomes. But what makes it the easiest and what makes it the most streamlined is if you get yourself in position and you know, have your credit where it needs to be, and you know your debt to income is decent. Then we're not coming back to you like, oh, you need to work on this, and it's delaying this, and then things have to be explained to underwriting, and you know, it's just delaying the process and making it more of a headache, because you know, buying a home, buying a huge asset can be stressful, even if it's just, you know, streamlined and everything's going smoothly. It's stressful because it's like the biggest purchase of your life. It can be. So having yourself in position and your ducks in a row is a major factor in taking some of that stress off of you. What was that? What's my cost? So my cost is all in the loan. So it will vary depending on what program that you're in. I don't have like a flat cost or a flat fee. It's going to depend on the program that we put you in, whether it's a purchase or refinance, all the different programs that they have. They have a ton of down payment assistance programs. They have programs for nurses and healthcare aides. So it all depends. It's not a flat cost, but we're as a broker, we're shopping to get you the best deal. So that's why we have all these different lenders. If one says, you know, they'll give you this pricing comes back from this lender and the other lender has a lower pricing, we're gonna go with the lower pricing. That doesn't, we're looking out for you and what's in your best interest. And that's kind of the difference between a mortgage lender and a mortgage broker, because with the lender, you are your lender. You going through them and whatever their rates and charges are, that's what you're getting. But as a broker, I get to shop for you.
So now, are you representing South State? Do they have the home ownership programs or?
No, I don't represent South State. I'm with eMortgage Capital, and I'll give you all cards and my contact information. So South State, no, I don't. I'm not under South State Bank. Y'all have any other questions? Well, it was a pleasure. I'm glad you all stayed and gave me your feedback. You got another question?
What area do you cover?
I live in Deltona, but I'm sorry, what was that? Well, eMortgage Capital is nationwide. So my managing broker is out of California, but my license is in the state of Florida.
So does that mean, what does that mean? Can we buy a house out?
Anywhere, yeah. I can get you a home in the United States, any state. Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. Y'all have a great rest of your Saturday.
What other workshops do you do?
Right now, I'm only working with the church here. I haven't set anything up. I've been so busy, with the lending side of it. But I also love to talk about business credit and let's see what else. Bookkeeping. I also do bookkeeping and tax preparation for small businesses. So that's just all incorporated in, finances and being in position. Like that's my go-to. That's what we want to do, and teach our kids and our next generation so that we can build back our leverage.
One other question.
Yeah.
Do you see the market changing anytime soon? Because that's key right now, because I know people getting one-bedroom apartments and they paying $1,500, $1,800 a month. That's crazy.
It absolutely is. Now, that market is going to continue to increase. Rent is never going to go back down. It's going to continue to increase because there's no reason for it to go back down. People need a place to live, and they're going to have to pay for it. So that's why you want property. You want to have your own property so that you're paying your own mortgage. You're not paying someone else's mortgage, and they can increase it every year you want to renew the lease with them. So you want to have that leverage of getting your home, paying your own mortgage, building that equity, and then when it's time, taking the equity out, buying you another home, and having someone pay your mortgage at your first home, or having your child set up a condo or home, and they have roommates, and they're paying the mortgage. That's what we want to get in the mindset of, not being behind the ball so much. So we want to get up there to where we can play on the level that everyone else is. Good. All right. You're so very welcome. Thank you for coming, and y'all have a great day.